Hello and welcome. This is I Am with Eric Faria. I am your host, and today with me I have Gia Savitz, who is a professional wrestler, a booker, and a promoter. And it is my pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's a pleasure. I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited. I have a lot of things to talk about today.
Nice, great. So let's begin by, as I'm going to begin by asking you a question that might be simple for you, but coming from somebody who doesn't know much about wrestling, what actually got you into wrestling in the first place?
It's an very, very interesting story. Basically, it started when I was 3 years old. And growing up, I was actually in Yonkers at the time. I was 3 years old in Yonkers. And it was Saturday mornings, the weekends, and back then, this was during the 80s, and professional wrestling was hot on the weekends, Saturdays, Sunday mornings, afternoons. So I remember turning on WWE, which was WWF at the time. I was watching AWA, NWA at the time, and also Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Glow.
Yeah, Glow. So this all started at 3 years old, and I became hooked. And from there, my mother drove me to Consumers, which of course went out of business. It went bankrupt. She took me to Consumers to buy my first Hulk Hogan doll. I remember being by the counter, and back then you had to, in order to order something, they had to get it from the back and bring it out. So I remember got my Hulk Hogan figure, came out, got it, and it was an addiction. And it became an addiction at 3 years old. And Saturday mornings were cartoons, and then 10 a.m. WWE would come on. And yeah, it became an addiction quite early on.
Wow. So you were 3 years old, you said.
Yeah.
That's very young.
Yeah.
So what is the first memory that you have of like seeing someone, a wrestler, or what is it? What was the first image that you remember?
It was definitely, seeing Hulk Hogan. Seeing Hulk Hogan,
of course.
doing a promo. And what was interesting was that on Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons and all, Hulk Hogan was rarely used and the shows at the time were WWF Superstars of Wrestling, Wrestling Challenge, those things. And those shows, you wouldn't really see Hulk Hogan really wrestling a whole lot. Here and there, he'll pop up. You'll see him doing a main event on Superstars of Wrestling, Wrestling Challenge. A lot of the times, though, he wasn't always on. But, you could catch a promo of him, and he'll be running his mouth off, doing his promo. Sure. Well, you know something, brother, and all this other stuff. So, it wasn't just Hogan's, like, wrestling, ability. It was also the way he presented himself.
The personality,
He was an amazing entertainer.
Yes, yeah.
He's an amazing entertainer. Sure. And, he became an idol of mine, as well. And so it was Hulk Hogan growing up. And then there was the NWA. You had Ric Flair as NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Dusty Rhodes. You had AWA that was promoting a old school type thing. They had the Road Warriors coming in, but Vern Gagne, who owned AWA at the time, was booking a old school type territory and everything like that. Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling was hot too for me. I loved it. The storylines were interesting. The girls really worked hard. But those are my early memories.
Oh, that's very nice. About Glow, right? Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Yeah. I saw that there's a Netflix show recently. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
I actually have seen. I saw the entire show to talk to you today.
You saw the entire season and everything on Netflix, season 1.
Correct.
Okay.
And I loved it. I thought it was a very entertaining show.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I've watched that quite a bit at my friend's
What did
house.
you think in terms of the wrestling? Did they get it right?
With that show?
Yeah.
It's interesting to talk about this. I think they did, and watching that, the female characters and everything, because I feel like I identify more as a female than a man,
right?
Than a male.
Yeah.
So seeing this show on Netflix and seeing how the characters are, it's kind of I kind of can relate to those characters.
Yeah, even though it's a fictional show based on the actual Glow that existed in the 80s, correct? Just to clarify things for people who haven't seen it. But so all of that was happening in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then how did you personally get involved to the point where you started training, and how was your journey into becoming a wrestler?
Well, it's interesting because it really started out with backyard wrestling. So after the 80s, fizzled out. After the 80s fizzled out, we were going into the 90s. and things were changing with the wrestling business. Hulk Hogan's, American hero type gimmick was kind of phasing out. And if you were to watch, if anyone who's watching right now at home right now, maybe they saw the 1992 Royal Rumble, and that was that event where you saw Hogan's character kind of was phasing out. That's when Sid Justice threw him out of the ring and everything like that at the Royal Rumble, eliminated Hogan. People were behind Sid Justice. But so what I'm trying to get at is, as the 90s were coming in and new things were coming out, all of a sudden I was getting involved in backyard wrestling.
Okay.
And I started my own promotion, my own promotion called the CCWF. I started it with a number of friends of mine, and we would have backyard wrestling matches, and this was at 13 years old. At 13.
Really? And people would actually come and pay to watch you guys fight?
We didn't have anyone. Yeah, we didn't have anyone paying or anything, but we would set up a cheesy ring. We would get 4 chairs, put one rope around it, and we would do it in my friend Daniel and his brother Thomas's backyard. And we'd do it over there, and but our matches were as real as it gets. So I'm trying to say to the people now watching this, professional wrestling is, more of a predetermined thing. Our backyard promotion at the time was as competitive as it got. We took professional wrestling back to its roots, back to the era of Frank Gotch or George Hankenschmidt. Those guys, Jim Londas, when they wrestled, they had competitive matches, and that's what our promotion was.
Okay.
So there was backyard stuff going on, and then I ended up in a backyard promotion, actually, in New Rochelle called Extremely Crazy Wrestling. Now, that was predetermined, but we we took it to the extreme. I remember going through
injuries and stuff. Did you get injured?
Oh, I had a big bruise on my right thigh. I went through a homemade table, big bruise on my right thigh. So we did like an ECW type territory. So that was back in April '01. It was Extremely Crazy Wrestling. It was owned by a guy named Brent Taylor from New Rochelle, who actually lives in Danbury now, where you are.
Okay.
And so we did that, and then we even did a backyard show in my basement in October '01. So later on in 2001, which was kind of embarrassing because my mother ended up interfering. She didn't know we were having a backyard show until she went down to the basement, and we had a chair shot going on. And yeah.
Wow, that must be scary for a mother walking into that scene.
Yeah, it was pretty gruesome stuff. And she said, Justin, this has to stop. You can watch it on TV and not do it, in the basement.
Oh, right. So how do you go from that to actually becoming a professional wrestler?
Well, after a while, the backyard thing was starting to die out for me. It was, it was getting on where it was kind of like, I can't keep doing these backyard things. It's time to go to the next level.
Sure.
And I always dreamed about becoming a professional wrestler, professional wrestling manager. Always dreamed about going to a school and training. And after the backyard show I had at my house in October '01 with my mother interfering, I tried to train at a school in Waterbury, Connecticut, owned by Jason Knight.
Okay.
I checked out the school, and then I thought to myself, I don't know, maybe what am I getting myself into? Maybe this is not for me. So I decided not to go to Jason Knight's school. However, it took me about a year later to realize I still want to do this. So then I ended up enrolling in a professional wrestling school back in August 2003. It was called Ultimate Power Wrestling University, and it was owned by professional wrestler Flesh Eater Cabatro and the Renegade Angel. So I was training there from August 2003 to around January 2004, and it was intense.
Yeah, I can only imagine, yes.
Very, very intense training. Now, you got people saying, professional wrestling's all fake, this and that. No, it's not. Absolutely not.
There are real injuries, and you have to commit to something.
Yeah, with the training, it was intense, and we had to, I had to take bumps in there, and for the most part, I was the only student there. There were guys coming in here and there training with me. Most part, I was the only student. So what happened with that was that when I took my first bump, Flesh Eater Cavatro said to me, you want to take a bump, took a bump, and when you take a bump, it stings a bit. You got people saying, these people, they take the bumps in the ring, it's all padded, they don't feel anything. No.
You felt it.
Oh, yeah, you feel it. You're sore. You're sore after one day. You want to go into the bath in the bathtub, put bubbles and put some salt in the bathtub.
It's like training for anything. You are an athlete. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very intense training. So there was bumps to take, front bumps, back bumps. You feel sore, you do forward rolls, a bunch of forward rolls you got to do. And the forward roll is very important, especially, you know, when you're doing something like a hip toss, a basic move like the hip toss. You got to know the forward roll.
Okay.
You know, you have to learn how to do that to really get that, you know, perfect technique down
Right.
pat. So the training was intense and everything. And then, you know, so I finished up with Flescia Cavacho around January. And then I ended up making my pro debut in June 2004 for Massachusetts Underground Wrestling.
Wow. And how was that experience?
Oh man, it was simply amazing. And the crowd was very small. Only 3 people showed up.
Wow.
3 people. It was in a warehouse, a rundown warehouse in New Bedford, Massachusetts. It took me about 3.5 hours to get over there. And the reason why I'm saying 3 people showed up is because one of the guys in the audience was my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
So I dragged my boyfriend Ren at the time. I was dating this cute Chinese guy.
So, and him and 2 more people. That's it. That was the audience.
That was the audience. So the match, we did a little small tournament.
Okay.
It was me, the boy next door, Timothy Pittman, who was my opponent. We had Justin Moore, Ethan Payne. Justin Moore, Ethan Payne were phenomenal workers. And these guys had less training than me, and these guys were amazing, phenomenal workers.
Wow.
So we did a mini tournament. We had them involved. We had referee Zach Carter, who's still doing indie shows. He goes all over the place, even to Canada. So he's still doing indies as a referee. Timothy Pittman, I believe, and the other guys are probably retired. But we had a little tournament, and Tim Pittman and I had a match. And I had my butterflies. I was a nervous wreck going in. You know, again, it was like, you know, what am I doing? What am I getting myself into? And Tim Pittman and I, for my first match, Tim Pittman and I had a great match.
Nice. So I'm assuming that from then on, you knew that this was something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, and then you know, it was always something, and everything. And then, you know, then from there, after MUW, Massachusetts Underground Wrestling, then I went into NGW, which is Next Generation Wrestling, which was based out of South New Jersey in Estill Manor. And I will admit, that was one amazing ride. That was an amazing ride, that promotion. What was going on, the stuff, it was an amazing ride, to the point where I was even writing a screenplay based on the promotion.
Wow.
To try to, I was even thinking about doing a movie, shopping around to Hollywood or something, called NGW. And I was working on a script, because it was an amazing ride, that promotion. It was amazing, Next Generation Wrestling.
Did that script ever come to fruition?
I had been working on it from time to time. You know, I had been working on it. Next Generation Wrestling was one of my greatest runs in the business. It was the one promotion that really got me out there. And it was amazing because I wasn't only wrestling, I was managing a little bit, and also I got really my first experience to be a booker in a professional wrestling promotion.
Right.
Which means, for the people that are watching at home right now, a booker is kind of like a writer, and I was writing detailed scripts for Next Generation Wrestling.
Wow,
writing
for all of the characters that they have in the circuit.
Coming up with storylines, and I was coming up with risque, edgy storylines. There's nothing PG about me. I know I'm here on a PG show right now, but there's nothing really PG about me. I'm a TV 14 TVMA rating. So when I write, I'm really going to push the envelope. And when I push the envelope, people are going to be like, is he really going to do that? Is he really going to go that far?
But I guess in the indie circuit, you are allowed to do that more than so in the WWE, for example, right?
Well, I want to touch on that. The thing is, with the independent circus, you have a lot of these promotions are family oriented. You know, mother brings her 4-year-old, her 5-year-old, her toddler in the stroller. You know, you got stuff like that going on. You know, there's a lot of family oriented promotions. So I have been told in the past, Gia, you got to hold back on that. You cannot do that. So, you know, a lot of these indie promotions are family oriented, but then you got some out there, like something like Atomic Championship Wrestling, who puts that on their website, you know, viewer discretion is advised. Combat Zone Wrestling, which is a hot independent right now, a hot independent promotion that does shows in like South Jersey and Delaware. You know, they push the envelope. So, you know, a lot of these companies are family oriented, and I'm not really family oriented. I push the envelope. You know.
That's interesting. So, yeah, so I want to come back. We're going to take a little break, but I do want to come back with you, and we're going to talk a little bit more about creativity and the storylines and everything. So for everybody watching, we're going to be back in a little bit. Stick with us. Hello, welcome back. This is Eric Faria, and I'm here today with Gia Savitz, and we were talking about wrestling. So I wanted to ask you, since you were talking about making up storylines, creating, the world in which these characters, these wrestlers live, how do you go about that process? How does it come to you?
It's interesting you said that. It's just, I guess you could say there's some inspiration that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
I've even been doing like, writing storylines even in backyard wrestling as well. But like, as I was saying earlier with Next Generation Wrestling, that's where I did a lot of booking, and the promoter was Drew Miller at the time. So with that, I'm always coming up with something. I'm always, my mind. You know what it is? I have attention deficit disorder. So that adds
Does
to
that
my,
help?
Oh yeah, it does. It does
Yeah.
actually. It adds to my creativity.
Oh.
To write something.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm doing booking, writing, script writing for WTF Entertainment, which is out of Manhattan. So that's currently my job in the business. I'm doing booking for them.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just I get inspiration from just maybe real life events in my life that come on. There was an example. I was at Foxwoods a few months ago, my friend, and I was thinking about stuff for a WTF shoot that we had September 9th, and this was August. I was coming up with stuff, and just being in that casino, Foxwoods, I got some ideas. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to use this idea to do this for the shoot. This is going to spice it up. So there's times where I'm just walking around and I'm just getting inspiration. There's even times where I'll take my pad and my pen, I'll sit in Starbucks or some coffee shop, and then before I write the script, typing it out on Celtics or Final Draft, I'll be writing it by hand sometimes.
Oh.
And doing it that way, because I'm seeing people walking in and walking out, and then I just get this inspiration that way. And but yeah, my storylines, I try to be as original as possible. I do stuff, I do stuff that I try not to copy stuff that's been used already.
Right.
Maybe I've done it here and there. I try to keep it very, very original.
You put your own spin on the storylines, and even if it has been done before, you create something new.
Yeah, I mean, my pet project right now is as you see with the shirt over here.
Yeah, yeah.
The Fetish Vikings is a faction I came up with in WTF Wrestling, WTF Entertainment. So I'm in charge of booking all the Fetish Viking stuff. So we do, when we do shoots, Fetish Viking stuff, a lot of the times I write those segments.
Okay.
And it's risque. It's risque. I do all my promos in the shower. So I'm in the shower doing my promos.
Oh my goodness. So, what about creativity? Can you talk about that for a little bit? What is the importance of creativity in your life, just in general? Because I feel like creativity is so important for me, and it's what gets me driving and motivated to do stuff and to do new things. What is the importance of creativity for you?
It's my life. It's something I wake up in the morning, I create, and I go to sleep at night and I create. It just consumes my whole life. And it's just something that's, it's something I eat, sleep, and breathe creativity. I can't breathe in life. I can't go on in life without creating. Maybe there's times where I beat myself up thinking, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this is not going well as I hoped it would. And then I bring myself back up, and I do what I have to do. And yeah, it's a lot of the times, like, they're saying that with professional wrestling, you can't make money. And it's kind of true, because on the independent circuit, you got a lot of guys struggling. And yeah, my dream is to go to WWE or GFW. I've been sending out send out resumes, to them a lot, because I want to work there. That's my dream job. Just I love creating. It's just something I always love to do every single day, 24/7.
That's very inspiring. So, where do you see your creativity taking you in the short term to long term?
Well, if I'm not
with the wrestling, of course.
Right. If I'm not in WWE or Global Force Wrestling or something like that, writing, I see myself having my own promotion. That's my goal. That's my long-term goal, is to have my own company. So I don't have to answer to these promoters that want to tell me. And there's a guy named Mike Morgan, who maybe he's watching, a promoter by the name of Mike Morgan, who owns Ace Pro Wrestling out in Wallington, New Jersey. And he's the type of guy that, you know, if I'm pushing the envelope, he's telling me, oh, we got to keep it family oriented over here. We can't push the envelope. You know, I want to just have my own freedom to do my own thing and not to answer to another promoter. I want my own company. That's my long-term goal, is to have my own promotion, run my own shows, most likely in Jersey, because the athletic commission in New York is strict. So mostly in Jersey. That's my long-term goal, have my own company, doing my own thing, and that's it, you know?
Okay. Well, thank you, Gia. So we'll be back, and for everybody watching, stick with us, and we have something more coming after this. And welcome back to I Am. This is Eric Faria. I'm here today with Gia Savitz. And Gia actually has some cool things that are coming up for those of you in the New York City area. So why don't you go away and talk to us about what's coming up?
Well, I'm going to look right straight in this camera, right over here. It's time for me to cut a promo now, a classic wrestling promo. Everyone at home, just want to let you know that on Saturday, November the 4th, at the LaGuardia Plaza Hotel in East Elmhurst, Queens, New York, is the Big Event 13. That's right, the Big Event 13. And you got to get ready for this, because myself, Gia Savitz, and my business partner, Gary S. Miller, we have Gary S. Miller Productions. We're going to be setting up a booth at the Big Event 13. We're going to be selling wrestling merchandise, Fetish Vikings t-shirts, which we have the shirt over here. The Fetish Vikings t-shirts, we're going to do this BOGO sale. Buy one, get one, half off. That's right. You buy the Fetish Vikings t-shirt, which is my professional wrestling faction, which is led by myself. You could buy the shirt for just $20, and you get one half off for just $10. Also, for merchandise, the official theme song of myself and my faction, the Fetish Vikings, Pleasure to Kill, which is performed by the band Rocket Fuel, which is led by Tom Stagone. We are going to be selling the Rocket Fuel Refuel album, which has Pleasure to Kill on there. We're going to sell that album on CD for just $6. That's right. If you go on iTunes, you got to pay around $10. We're giving you a deal just at the Big Event 13, just $6 only. Then, can't forget this. That's right. And I mentioned this on my Twitter page. Professional wrestling star on the independent circuit, Allie Rex. You know, if you're a big fan, you've seen her on the indie circuit throughout New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York. Allie Rex, gorgeous by the way, a real hottie, is going to be signing autographs at our booth. And then, how can we forget? That's right. We are also going to be crowning a world heavyweight champion of a new independent promotion. Well, I shouldn't say new. They've been in exile for about 14 years, and now they're coming back. The indie promotion, Oppenheimer Entertainment Group, which is owned by Brian M. Oppenheimer of Mahopac, New York. We are going to be crowning the first ever Oppenheimer Entertainment Group World Heavyweight Champion right at the booth. Several independent wrestling talents have been contacted to become OEG, Oppenheimer Entertainment Group World Heavyweight Champion. You want to see who the champion is? You're going to have to find out at the Big Event 13, Saturday, November 4th. LaGuardia Hotel, East Elmhurst, Queens, New York. Goes from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tickets are on sale right now, www.bigeventny.com.
Great. That was awesome. Thank you for doing that in 3 minutes. So before we go, Gia, I want to ask you, since the name of the show is called I Am, I always ask my guests this question. If you had to say who you are, what would be your answer? Who are you?
I would say I feel like as I said, I feel like I identify more as a female. And Gia Savitz is really, is me.
Mm-hmm.
And to go under the I Am theme of the show and everything, yeah. I identify as Gia. I am Gia, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's how I identify. And I'm not a macho person at all. I'm not a macho guy. I'm one of the most, I could be passive, eccentric, odd, that's the type of person I am. I'm not macho.
Okay.
I'm just a gentle person.
Awesome. And if you had to leave, comment for somebody who's watching you, who maybe is in what you were watching in the 80s? Like, what would you say to that person? Maybe, you know, a trans kid who's into wrestling, or a lesbian, LGBT kid who's into wrestling.
Well,
What would you say to that person?
I would say to that person, you know, follow through with who you are. Don't run away. You know, because growing up, I was running away from stuff. I was running away. So, you know, there were times where I had to run away, and you know, I wanted to live, you know, who I was, and you know, I couldn't always do that.
Hmm.
So I'm just telling everyone, just follow who you are. Don't listen to anyone. If your parents are giving you doubts and everything, just don't. Just follow who you are. Pursue your dreams for who you are. Don't do what your parents are always saying for you to do because they don't accept you. And that's all I have to say.
That's so great and inspiring. Thank you so much for being
you.
here
It's a pleasure.
today. It
Thank
was
you.
a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be here with you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back next week with a new episode, and I hope you enjoyed this one. See you.